Oh, Sun is a little hornball. Jin is a lucky man. Hey everybody, this is Lou on Lost, episode 10, The Package. Now no, this was no last week's episode, but at least we found out some things that we've been wondering about for the last couple of weeks. Actually, this episode consisted of a lot of one-liners, especially from Kimi. Yes, Kimi's back on the show even though it's only for a little bit. And yes, Kimi didn't die yet. Awesome. Alright, let's get to the show. So we start off in the 2007 timeline, which appears that somebody is watching the camp through night goggles of some kind. And then they go and they see that John Locke approaches Jin. Locke asks Jin, how's he doing? And Jin's like, I'm fine. Locke then goes on to promise Jin that he's going to reunite him with his wife and that he's working on that as we speak. So Flock's getting ready to leave to go somewhere and he tells Sayid to hold down the fort until he gets back. Sayid goes on to tell Flock that he feels nothing. No emotion, no hatred, no sadness, no anything. Flock goes on to say that that might be best for Sayid because of what's about to come. But I mean, come on, honestly, it's Sayid. He's been an Iraqi torturer. He's killed people in the past. He doesn't feel as what others might feel if they've killed somebody before. I don't know. I guess this whole infected thing really has gotten to Sayid. It doesn't even seem like he's a person anymore. So Jin sees that Flock is leaving and decides that this is time to book it. As he's packing up his things, Sawyer says to him, where is he going? Jin says he doesn't want to be here around as that thing is when that thing comes back. And then he goes to say that he's going to go find his wife. As he's talking to Sawyer, all of a sudden a freaking dart seems like it goes right through his chest, but it actually shoots him in front of the chest. I thought Jin died there for a second. Sawyer also gets shot with a dart, and so does everybody else. And then that stupid Tina Fey lookalike Zoe comes, sees that it's Jin on the floor, and says, yep, that's him, and then they take Jin away somewhere. I'm really not liking Charles Widmore's crew members. I mean, they all seem like Dutsy to me. They're incapable of doing things. Their planning sucks. I don't know. I just don't like any of them, especially Zoe. She's weird. So now we're back in the 2004 timeline, where Jin actually comes out of the security office where we saw him a few episodes ago actually go into because he had too much money on the airplane. He goes, has his briefcase, but they don't give him back his 25 grand. So you can tell Jin's a little worried. He goes with Sun over to the desk counter to check into their hotel, and then he says something I did not think I would hear during this timeline either. Tudum no me. Oh my god, they're not married in this timeline either? What's gonna happen next? Sun's gonna tell Jin that she's pregnant? Oh wait. So Jin goes and knocks on Sun's door and lets her know that he traveled halfway across the world to deliver this watch. He's gonna go do that. As he's about to leave, Sun goes and unbuttons her blouse and seduces Jin. They wind up doing it, and then after they do whatever they did, they get a knock on the door. And who is it? It's Kimi. So Kimi sits down Sun and Jin, and he tells them that they have an envelope for him for $25,000 and that he needs that money from him. They wind up talking Korean to each other, and then Kimi says, I feel like I'm in a damn Godzilla movie. So Kimi tells this guy to go get Vakile, the guy who speaks like 9 different languages. And as we know, Vakile's the guy who was in the first 3 seasons, the guy with the eye patch. Except this time, he doesn't have an eye patch. He has 2 good eyes on him, at least for now. So they decide that Sun's going to go to the bank with Vakile and get the 25 grand while they bring Jin to the restaurant. They beat up Jin for a little bit, and Kimi lets Jin know that the reason why he's giving him the 25 grand is for his own funeral. The father found out that he was, with Sun, and now he wants him dead. And, I mean, that just sucks. It's actually pretty good he lost the money if you think about it. So now we're at the scene where Jin is in the closet/freezer thing, whatever it is, and he hears the 3 gunshots. And that's the scene where Sayid shot everybody. Sayid opens up the door and sees the Thai non-English spoken Jin just sitting there. He doesn't know who he really is. He doesn't know if Jin's going to attack him, but Jin begs him for help. He sees a box cutter, puts it in Jin's hands while his hands are tied behind his back, and says good luck and then leaves. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, Sun and Vakile are at the bank, and they find out that her account got closed from her father. They go to the restaurant, they see that everybody's been shot, and then Jin is standing there like an action hero with a gun behind Vakile's head. Vakile tries to counter Jin, fires 2 shots at him. Jin winds up hitting him in the head, and then shoots him in the eye, and he winds up with only 1 eye once again. Destined for 1 eye? I'd say so. The only problem with all this is that Vakile actually shot Sun in her stomach. Jin in a panic goes and picks her up, and he says, don't worry, we'll make sure everything's okay. And then Sun lets Jin know that she's pregnant. Now, 2 different things from the 2004 timeline and 2007 timeline is that 1, they are not married in the 2004 timeline. And two, Sun actually knows that she's pregnant before she goes on the island. The only thing that I'm wondering about is that is this kid's actually Jin's, or is it another guy that she was cheating on him with the first 2 seasons? Maybe they never even met. Who knows? So to get back to the 2007 timeline, Flock approaches Sun and lets her know that he knows where Jin is and that he can reunite those two. She doesn't believe him, starts to run away, and then nails her head on top of this tree branch. Oof, that's going to leave a mark for sure. So Ben finds her laying there unconscious, and he wakes her up and says, "What happened? What happened?" Only problem is that she can only respond to him in Korean for whatever reason. Ben has no idea what happened, so he says, "Who did this to you?" And then she goes and responds, "Locke." So they're back at the camp. Jack is looking at Sun's head, and honestly, I have to agree with Miles on this one at first. I really didn't buy the whole "I hit my head, it can only speak Korean" thing. I thought maybe Sun was up to something at first, but I guess I gotta take her word for it. All of a sudden, Richard and Hurley come on back to the camp. Richard all of a sudden has a plan. They're gonna destroy the plane so Men in Black can't leave. And then Sun is really pissed off because she doesn't want to save the world. She just wants to get off this island and go home to her family with Jin. So she gets really upset, runs away. Jack goes and speaks with her and lets her know that everything is going to be alright. You know what? I honestly have to say, ever since Jack finding out that he was destined for the island, he's actually been a really cool character. Very confident, very assertive, knows what he wants. This is not the alcoholic and pill popping Jack. Very cool so far. Still kind of hate him, but I'm starting to lean toward liking him a lot more. Meanwhile, all this is happening. Flock goes to the Hydra Island to get back Jin. As he gets there, we see all those pylons surrounding the whole island, which means that Flock cannot enter it because of the whole sonic wave thing. Flock is now walking across the beach as if he's a caged lion looking at his prey, talking with Charles Widmore. He asks Charles Widmore if he can get Jin back. Charles Widmore looks like he's lying and says, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Flock goes on to say something, or at least quoting somebody, that I thought was really, really interesting. Flock goes on to say that the wise man once said, meaning Jacob, that war was coming onto this island. I think it just got here. Now we know that there's been talks about a war throughout the last couple of seasons, but I always thought the war was always between Jacob and the Man in Black when they were talking about that. I mean, there is still a war between those two, but I guess the main war is between the Men in Black and Charles Widmore. Sorry everybody who thought Charles Widmore was a bad guy. He's technically not really a bad guy right now. So now we see that Jin's in a room of some kind where the lights are really dim. He's on this table of some kind. He goes to flip the light switch, and then all of a sudden, like, this whole like video and lights and everything start flashing. And as we know, we've seen that before when Ben did that to Carl, Alex's old boyfriend. So stupid Zoe is trying to ask Jin some questions, but he doesn't want to speak with her. He wants to speak with Charles Widmore. Charles Widmore and Jin have a little conversation. He hands Jin a camera, and it's pictures of Sun and his daughter. And he starts to get a little emotional, and he lets Jin know that he has a daughter too, who he hasn't seen in a really long time, and that if the Man in Black escapes the island, that his daughter will die, Charles Widmore's daughter will die, everyone he knows will die. So Charles Widmore goes on to explain about the package, and Jin wants to know what the package is. Charles Widmore says, it's not a what, it's a who. And we find out that the package is Desmond. Now we know the last time we see Desmond this season was during the first episode of this season, when he was on the plane speaking with Jack. Even before that, we know that Eloise Hawking told Desmond that he did have a plan for the island, and that he had to go back. But Desmond said, no, I'm not going back, I'm done with the island, and then he wound up leaving. Obviously that didn't work out so well. See, now what I'm wondering is that what makes Desmond so important? Why is he the package? And why does the island need him to stop the Man in Black? Is that even his role? Questions to think about. What does Desmond even have to do to stop the Man in Black? I mean, can somebody who's human actually beat a superior being? I mean, we know that Desmond had the power after the hatch blew up to predict the future of some kind, at least for Charlie, but can he actually pull it off? According to the Lost promo at the end of the episode, it said that we're going to lose somebody. Do you guys think anybody's going to die? And if so, who? And his next episode, the episode that Sun and Jin reunite. Next week's episode is called Happily Ever After. Wow, doesn't that sound relieving? I honestly don't know what to expect. I really think somebody's going to die. Somebody who's bad. You know, usually when something's happily ever after, it means something good happened. I don't know, we're just going to have to find out. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in once again. Rate, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you guys next week.